Now I give the floor to Mr. Zhang Lirong, who is the Secretary General of China Forum at Center for International Security and Strategy at Tsinghua University. I just told him I realized that one of his colleagues, Senior Colonel Zhou Bo, was at the Shangri-La Forum, and he was just by Secretary of Defense Austin and the Chinese Minister of Defense at that famous roundtable dinner. So, Mr. Zhang, you have the floor to ask questions or share your views. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you very much for inviting me to take part in this event. Your Excellencies, ambassadors, and dear colleagues, and thank you very much for the excellent presentations, which are still very enlightening, although I worked many years in Denmark as Chinese diplomat and visited all the Nordic countries several times. Due to time limit, I would like to limit to the welfare policy. We know that half a century ago, the Nordic countries gradually established the welfare system, which we call it from cradle to grave. So you have profound practice and rich experience in that. So studying them and learning from you, I think is of great significance for the improvement of the Chinese welfare system. As far as I have witnessed during the last decades, the content and Chinese welfare have been extended. The welfare programs for the elderly, for the disabled and children have enjoyed continuous expansion, and the rural social welfare systems are rapid development, and social welfare management systems a continuous optimization. For example, the subsidy scheme for the elderly has been adopted nationwide with slightly different levels from region to region. My mother-in-law, who lived in Shenzhen, enjoyed a nearly 1,000 yuan subsidy and 12 hours free service every month. And healthcare, education, and welfare services have also been introduced in the countryside. So another achievement is the diversified social welfare supply pattern. It is gradually forming with the participants of government, civil societies, communities, corporate institutions, and individuals. But after all, I think the development process of China's social welfare is a catch-up model for the latecomer countries. So what China has in common with the Nordic countries are that we both realize that the welfare system or social security system will help ease class contradictions, promote social fairness and equality and social stability. Although the Nordic countries are capitalist systems, while China a socialist system with a basic principle to pursue a common prosperity. The biggest differences between them are the economic level and the proportion of population, especially the rural population. China's per capita GDP is only 1/4 to 1/5 of that of the Nordic countries. And China's social security expenditure is only about 14% of its total fiscal expenditure, so which is much lower than those of the developed countries. And on top of that, the proportion of rural population is as high as 35% in China, and still with many impoverished people. So I think China cannot copy the Nordic model, but we can learn from them. And we should develop the Chinese social welfare system based on our current situation. As far as I understand it, at present, China's social welfare policy can only be moderately inclusive. This inclusiveness is reflected in the expansion of China's social welfare from targeting vulnerable groups to the general public and expanding to the whole population. The moderation reflects that the development of social welfare in China cannot be separated from the level of the economic development. But I do expect the overall trend in the future of the social welfare in China will be to establish a social welfare system centered on a better life for its entire population. So if I sum up, I think China has made a great progress in social welfare, but there are still many shortcomings. For example, in legislation, in taxation, in encouraging fund channels, and in supervision of the NPOs and training of professional social workers. So I do cherish the presentations the ambassadors made on taxation, on intensives of people to work as long as you wish, on education equality, and especially on the very desirable maternity leave, 6 months for husbands and men. They are very ideal and desirable for Chinese. But I would at last ask you if you have any feasible suggestions for the current situation in China to step forward, to work forward with its current welfare schemes. So thank you very much. I'll stop here.